Hello, everybody out there in the world of 3. Hello, everybody out there in the world of 3D. This is Neil, actor, musician, digital artist, and I just wanted to do a quick tutorial here on UV layout and to Houdini to Substance Painter. I'm a Houdini user. I don't use like Blender um, or Maya. I mean, I have Blender, but I don't use it for my UV layouts. So I don't know if this would still work. Uh, I don't know how it would work in Blender, to be honest. I know how this is going to work in uh, Houdini to get it to work in Substance Painter. So I want to touch on UDIMs, right? Um, on how to get them to basically work if you have a in Houdini. If you have a certain layout and you want to keep that layout, you can't necessarily do that with the UV layout node because it's going to give you a whole new layout. So what do? I'm going to show you what I did to get this to work. I have to doing some researching. And never and of course off topic a little bit, trims bug me. UV um, these trims here I had to take in Houdini to lay them out. So you'll see what I did with them. Those I had to do a UV layout to fix them because the UVs are just awful. And this is what bugs me about some of these applications when you find trims in, in I in find trims that aren't laid out properly. What do? You have to take them into another application and lay them out. And I have these UVs laid out in a certain way that I wanted to keep, right? So I export it out as an FBX, and to really get this to work, you have to still have unified UVs um, checked to really get it to work properly. So I exported it as an FBX, right? Um, and I'll show you the options that I used. And so we go here, um, save. I'm not going to resave this because I already did it once, but I have my UVs laid out. You want to select avatars, exclude rig. I just did section. It's probably not needed, but anyway, unweld for now. Eventually, you're going to want to weld your vertices. You can easily do that in Houdini. Um, Unified UV coordinates checked, because otherwise, if you uncheck this, all of your UVs are going to appear in the 0 to 1 space over top of each other. Well, not in this your 0 to 1 space, but they're going to appear over top of each other and they're going to appear large, and it's going to be a mess. So to keep this layout when you export, check the unified UV coordinates, right? And then everything else is just standard. So you click OK. I did it as a single object, unweld, and that was it. And then sorry about that. That was my email going on. Let me actually close this for now. Um, all right. And so in Houdini, when I bring it in, I'll show you the nodes here. Um, this is Houdini 21. It is great. I have yet to work with the new iteration of Copernicus or the improvements that they made on it. They did change UV workflow for Copernicus in a way from what I've read. Let me see here. All right. So I'm going to open up my scene here in Houdini, and I'll show you you know, I'll show you everything from the FBX import to the export, and then I'll open it up in Substance Painter. I'll bring it as a new scene in Substance Painter. Um, and this will still work similar to when you export from Clo 3D or Style 3D, Style 3D Atelier. Um, it's going to be a similar workflow, if not exactly the same. The big thing is how to get the UDIMs exported and get them recognized in uh, Substance Painter. My nodes are cooking, so just give it a second here. All right, so I'll show you from top to bottom here. Now, this is the original model. Not sure why the colors didn't come in on it. Um, Strange. The first time I imported, the colors came in on it, so I don't. But so I don't know what the deal is with that. But that's not actually I have two. I'm just gonna put the original one back in and get rid of this. I just used this to test something here. I'm just gonna get rid of that and redo this. All right. So here's the outfit. Convert units. We'll bring it in the size that it needs to be because Houdini's in meters. Um, and this was exported in centimeters, so convert units will size it correctly. All right. You want to unpack it because if you look at the node here, 1 point, because it's a packed geometry. So you want to unpack it, and now you get all your information. And you notice what attributes you have. You have the FBX material name, you have the name, and I like, um, you know, what this does for, when you export it. So your normal information, your UVs, you never want to get rid of these, and you never want to get rid of the VR map. Some of these you can kind of get rid of before you bring it into Substance Favor, but I wouldn't. So once you bring it in and you unpack it, now as far as the trims go, I had to separate those out and you see where's the UVs. So I had to separate them out and lay out the UVs. This was UV layout for, the ring, that ring, and I moved them in the UV space, moved them in the UV space. Now these hooks were a little tricky, right? Because you have a hook here, and you can kind of see UVs are messed up on them. And we're kind of getting off topic here. We're kind of off topic, but we're kind of not off topic. So just bear with me. So I went ahead and just give it a name, and here's a pro tip in Houdini. You can get um, you can use this, the op input, to get the name from another node and use that as a name, right? So I renamed, so I called this the hook front size, selected the primitives, delete non-selected, um, right? Gave that node a name, and then I named it with a here, FBX material name, number of renames, and I didn't actually have to do that. I could have done this with number of namings. I could have done it that way, but instead I did it this way. Either way is fine, because I can just do. Oops, hold on. Let me just copy this because I can just do this, select all, boom, and it would still name them. This is your geometry spreadsheet, and it would still name them hook side. So either way is fine. It doesn't matter because you're naming this anyway. I can even do it with an attribute wrangle. If I do attribute wrangle here, you can see that I can just even manually name it here. FBX material name equals some hook. We'll just do it that way. Uh, and you do it on primitives, and there you go. All the primitives in this is a name. So I'll just go back there. Fuse just to make sure that the points are fused together. Um, and you can see that it doesn't that the number of points changes 15,951 to 13,000. But there's a certain way you have to do this because because of how small this unit is. Now, one thing you can do that I forgot to do that I have done before, um, transform. Ooh, I forgot about this. 100, right? Pivot CX, CY, CZ. And that will bring me here, right? Fuse. I forgot about this, right? Transform, we have 13951, fuse, and then I can just reset that. Let me actually see here. Because at 100 times its size, then you have enough room. Because small, as small as it is, yeah, transform it up, and then you want to bring it back to its original size, which is 0.01. And compared to the other one, oops, no, 0.01 is actually, there you go. And you want to bring it back to its 0.01. All right. No, that's another pro tip for you. When you're fusing these small objects, those points are going to be so close, you don't want like any kind of margin of error. So there you go. So we're going to do the same thing here, right? And then we're going to do the same thing here. And actually, we'll just do this. Yeah, and we'll do this. Now, I want to show you something real quick why I did that. You see, look at how those points are messed up. We want this and not this. So we want to transform up, right? And then transform back down. And that's why you do that for small objects. And so now, and then what I'm doing here is just to make sense of it, get the volume, and then with an attribute wrangle, I'm taking that volume and multiplying it up. um, to give me a semi-decent number, multiplying it up for a poly count, and I'm using that to, I'm promoting that, remeshing, right? And that gives me this really dense mesh. And then I use a quad remesher because if you try to quad remesh on its current, if you try to do a quad remesh on the whole object, um, then it's going to come out funky. It's going to come out real funky. And so that's why I have this in a for each, um, for each connected piece. And I could have actually done this before I transformed it back down to its original size. I didn't even think of that. But I might go back and correct that. And you can see there what it looks like. And here's the original object, pretty close. And then I just went ahead and, did an labs UV auto UV layout, and then I redid the layout and then transformed them, and voila. Let me actually go to the UV window here, the UV view. Cooking, cooking, the nodes are cooking. Yeah, if you don't cook your nodes before you go to that merge, then, might take a minute. All right, and this is the UV layout, the current UV layout. I probably didn't need to do the UV transform. I could have done like a single UV, probably a single UV layout and did tiles like that, but I wanted them laid out in a certain way, right? I wanted each hook to be in its own UDIM, in its own tile, in its own place altogether. Um, and then transformed them down, put them in that tile, gave it a name. Here's the key to getting UDIMs to work without the UV layout. So as you can see, I got everything packed here, right, in their own tile. What I did was I went ahead and gave everything created an attribute called UDIM and gave it where its coordinates. Okay, so that's going to be the key. You give it whatever coordinate they're in. The first row is going to be 0, 1. It's always going to start with 1000, but the first row is going to be 0, 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, 4, and so forth. Next row is going to be in the 10, so you got right, like I have right here, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 1, 2, and then 1, 0, 2, 1, 1, 0, 2, 2. So the key is to put that uh, UDIM attribute on the primitives, right? And I did the same thing here, and I did the same thing here. I could have done this all in one node and be done with it. I could have done that and save myself some pain because you can select, what primitives you want to use. So I just decided to do this kind of the long way. uh, but anyway, um, and then for vertex colors, I gave them all a color based on the FBX material name, right? And then I promoted that attribute to the vertex attribute to a vertex attribute. So the color is now a vertex attribute, which you'll see why I did that here in a minute. And then here with this, I just simply copied the FBX material name over to the regular name, over to the name attribute. Um, Now, one thing I probably need to do, I think I need to do something with the shop material principal shader. I think what I need to do, what I might do, I wonder if this will work. This will be a good test. All right. S at shop material path equals. Yeah, shut up. Principal shader 1, but I'm going to back this up. Oops, nope, need to back this up. And I wonder if I could, oh, what's that command? What is that command? No, not spline, not split. Might have been, is it struct? No, hold on. Time to go to Google. I forgot it. Houdini Vex combine strings. Concatenate. Yeah. And then string 2 would be the S at FBX material name. And I think that would work, wouldn't it? Yes, it would. All right. I'm going to see if this works. And then string replace. And then I need string replace. Actually, I probably don't even need to do that because Houdini doesn't like white spaces. And I forgot to do that on the export. So let's do this. S at FBX material name equals replace. We need the string, the incoming string. Need the string is replace string with the old and new. I might be doing this wrong. Old with a new. Yeah, I had that right. No, that's not right. That's not right. And that's my food. Mm, 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 mm. Replace Vex function. I just want to replace spaces. Why isn't it replacing that name? Let me actually see here. String old name equals s at fdx material path. Oh, I did it wrong. That's what it is. There we go. Ah, who knew, right? Let me actually see if this. There we go. All right. Okay. So now we got that. All right. Well, you guys just got to see something really good live. All right. So all the white spaces are replaced with underscores. All right. I want to see if this actually works. So you guys get to watch me do this. All right. Save the disk. I want to see if this works. All right. So now we go to Substance Painter, right? Mm, left my order at the door. Yep, that is my food. All right. Recent new file. Moment of truth. Which one's which? Hold on. What did I name it as? Ah, Houdini UDIM, which is this one right here. Open. And okay, so when you're importing um, and you have UDIM tiles and they're correctly exported as UDIM tiles, you want to turn on use UV tile workflow preserve UV tile layout per material and enable painting across tiles. This is UV tile settings. These are for UDIMs, right? So you want to have that checked on. And also when I'm importing since there's the ACES 2.0, you want to have that color space on. And you always want, when you're painting and doing things with colors, you want sRGB, right? When you're exporting, if they're 8-bit images, sRGB, sRGB for 16-bit, but floating point, which is going to be mostly your EX, which is going to be pretty much your EXRs, um, then you want to go 8, then you want to select another one, ACES CG. All right. So, everything is in order. I always do my textures in 4096 and normal map in OpenGL. There is a difference OpenGL and DirectX, but that's not for this tutorial, and I probably couldn't even tell you. I know there is a difference, and there visually is a difference actually um, between them. So, all right, and I have a custom PBR template set up. So, and all right, let's see if this works. Ah, it did. Ooh, it did work? It did work. Huh, look at all that. The shot material path, it did work. All right. So I'm going to go back out and I'm going to fix the shot material path here. Now that I know this works, actually, we're going to take this out. And we don't really even need this anyway. But I'm going to take that out. But now I know that that's there. And I'm just going to keep, hold on. I'm going to rename this. Because I hate the name Principal Shader. Ranger costume. Oops. Actually, I don't even need concat anymore because you have to have 2 or more strings for concatenation to work. There we go. All right. All right, there we go. I didn't expect that to work. That was awesome. Okay. And then sometimes I surprise myself. Oh, yes. All right. Now for the UDIM stuff. All right. So I imported new, select, Ranger outfit UDIM from Houdini, and the options that I explained before. Okay. And Shabanga. And you have everything, your UDIM tiles laid out right here. So you can start painting across, um, you know, tiles. I'm gonna just paint this red and I'll show you. You can just start painting here, or if you want, paint like this, and you can see it's painting across tiles. And so now you get UDIMs to work, which is good. Now, here's where you want to make sure your naming is correct. You see these numbers here? Those are the numbers of the UDIM tiles, and you see 1001, 1002. I don't know why they begin with 10. I mean, there's a reason for that. But the last 2 numbers is what you really need to be concerned with because these are the actual coordinates. 0, row 0, row 1, row 2, row 3, and so forth. They're 0 base. I'm sorry, they're not yet. The rows are 0 based. The squares themselves are not. They're always going to start from 1, but the rows are 0 based. The columns are not, which kind of surprises me. But then again, in Houdini, you can. But then again, in Houdini, I think you can probably rename them anyway. But they probably won't come out correctly. So you want to actually, so you really want to get the naming Right. The attribute has to be UDIM, and the numbers need to correspond with where they're located. So, and from there you can do whatever you want. All right, so that is really a quick well, I don't know if it was quick, but it's a tutorial on working with UDIMs when you have a custom layout coming, when you laid your UVs out in your um, digital tailoring app, and you want to keep those layouts going to the Substance Painter. Um, when you have to fix other stuff like trims. So this is kind of a message to these companies on trims. Please make sure the UVs are laid out because otherwise they're going to look like crap. All right, shake it easy.